Over the past 3 years, the number of children and young people who've been stabbed to death in London has doubled. Some youngsters as young as 11 are so frightened about joining that statistic that they are wearing stab-proof vests to school. So it got us thinking when we heard about this. We're all mums. Would you take that preventative measure? Would you send your child to school in a stab-proof vest?
Do you know, this is such a funny one, this. If you'd asked me this a couple of months ago, I would have immediately said, oh, my goodness, no way. I mean, that's ridiculous. The likelihood, actually, of your child being stabbed is so tiny, really, compared to all the other dangers, like stepping into a road and a fast car passing.
Yeah.
But last year, somebody that my daughter knows who goes to... actually, it's one of these schools that's become an academy, you know, that one of these better, supposedly, inner-city schools. And she was stood right next to somebody that got stabbed. Right next to them. Same
so another pupil was between the two pupils.
Got stabbed. No. And so now, when I'm asked that question, I pause and think, well, would I? Well, would I? But you know, I think the answer still has to be for me, no, because doesn't that just raise the anxiety levels of our children? And can we really protect them? And am I going to put my child in a head-to-toe bouncy suit every time she crosses the road so she doesn't get knocked over by a car?
But where do we go from there? You're right. Where do we go from there? I mean, if you look at America, who's supposedly 10 years in front of us, what about...
Or 10 years behind, which way you choose
Depending on how you look at it.
I'm thinking about where they go to, like, for instance, gun crime in America, in schools. Where are we going to go then? I mean, you know, you can't...
So would you not, then? Would you not use it?
I wouldn't want to. Absolutely wouldn't want to, because I think we're on a road to nowhere if we start going down the vests and helmets and what are we going to do then?
Yeah, but if you... Most of us would think, well, that's it, I'll pack up and move and, you know, I'll take my child away from an area. That's obviously a problem. But what if that's not an option for you and you have no choice? You know your child won't get into any other school. That's where they have to go. I don't know whether I would do it or not, but I can appreciate the thought process behind a parent that would.
Oh, God, it's so frightening, though, isn't it, to think that we've come to that level. Surely it's down to the school, then, isn't it? Isn't it down to schools to I know that sounds naive, to stop this, but at least to have some policy in there.
But they do, Sherry. It doesn't make any difference. They have the metal detector things that schools go... that the kids go through when they get to school, but children are clever.
Yeah, I mean, listen, it's like anything. As a parent, your #1 priority in life is protecting your children. And if that's what it takes, then it's a bit like saying, you know, there's only 3 life jackets and I'm going to put you on this boat in the raging waters. You want your child to be the one that has a life jacket. But you would hope that as a country, the issue we would be looking at is making sure there aren't knives in the school.
That's what I mean, yeah.
But in the meantime, I mean, it's always weighing it up, isn't it? You sometimes wonder, are these companies playing on parents? These things, by the way, with VAT are nearly 400 quid. So it's a lot of money. And you know, are you playing on parents' fears, selling them something that's very, very expensive? Again, I mean, look at Damilola Taylor. Damilola Taylor was stabbed to death. He was stabbed in the leg by a broken bottle. So one of these vests would not have saved his life.
But also, Jane, if it's £400 a vest, then you're in a mixed school with children from mixed backgrounds, could that not almost become a target vest because you're one of the kids whose parents can afford it?
Absolutely. But, again, in all of our minds, the thing that drives us mad as parents is the if-only factor.
If only I bought
to your child and you go, if only I had sent them to school in a vest, or if only I hadn't sent them, you know. And again, I think it's just playing on our paranoia.
And I think as well, some, you know, absolutely, that's a lot of money, but some would say, how can you put a price on your child's safety? If that's what it costs, then...
But then, as Nadia
said... Go off to the shopping centre on a Saturday, you can make them wear it then?
As Nadia said, keep your child in at all times and don't let them go out at all.
Well, we've got emails in. So Eleanor said, I wouldn't allow my child to go to school. Full stop. Sorry, I'll educate them at home. This country has changed so much and it's terribly frightening. And Thomas says, I think, yes, kids should go through a check, just like the airports. It's very sad that it's come to this, but you just don't know how they're going to be influenced by what they're reading online. Which is true, isn't it?
You know what I find very interesting is obviously we hear about incidences like this happening in London, and mentally for me, I always thought that London must be the knife capital of Britain.
All big cities.
Apparently, the northeast of England apparently is the knife crime hotspot. Apparently, 55 knife crimes per 100,000 population. Just to sort of put that into perspective, you know, we're still in January 2016, and there's already been 4 fatal teenage
And you have
stabbings.
to look at as a country, we have to look at the causes. You know, these children are not carrying knives because they're being the big I am. They are carrying knives because if they don't, they will somehow
true,
get,
yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
so it's this sort of cycle
Twisted cycle.
yeah, exactly.
But some of them, absolutely, I agree with you, are. But some kids are carrying them to be the big I am. And I can remember that back in the 80s when I was at school. You know, I went to a school in the Midlands, and there were boys there that would flick their knives out at school. You'd go to parties, and boys would get drunk. And this is when I was, you know, 15, 16, 17. And boys would end up, there'd be little nicks here and there. That was since the 80s. Think about James Dean films, you know, boys
Well,
carrying
true,
flick knives
yeah.
there, and that was in the sort of 50s. Shakespearean times, Romeo and Juliet, kids carrying knives. This is, you know,
But you have to understand there's an awful lot of children that don't.
Absolutely.
So what's the difference
Yeah.
between those that do and those that don't? You have to look at the causes as to what makes somebody
Sure.
do something.
Absolutely. And as parents, you just do what you can for your kids.